Oh boy. Time for another COFOH Live and Undead. Oh, this is COFOH Live and Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crosier, and I am joined by the amazing Monique Dupree. But for
Hello.
you write something on my face. Monique, how are you?
I'm great tonight. How are you?
Good. It's so great to see you and finally be able to chat with you. Oh, I love it.
It's awesome.
Monique, you also go by the original Gata. Is that your wrestling moniker?
No, it isn't actually.
Oh,
I've had that name for a long time. It
nice.
has just always been my nickname, the original Gata. It kind of originated from like my comic book stuff that I started way back when, and I've always had an affinity for cats, and I love cats. They love me, and Gata is Spanish for cat, the female version of. So it kind of became a thing, a long running thing. It's trademarked and everything.
Excellent, excellent. The, tell us a little bit about yourself. How you grew up and how you became this creative force in filmmaking, in wrestling. I've also followed you on social media. I mean, you are an amazing acrobat. Uh, you know, uh, yeah, really interested to hear about your backstory.
Um, my backstory is rather boring and mundane. I mean, I grew up with my grandparents, and I've always entertained the family at home since as long as I could walk. And then I got my first opportunity to do something in front of the camera when I did Lean on Me at the age of 13, which my grandmother gave me permission to be a part of because I was 13. So I had to have parents' permission, and we were filming overnight. So we definitely needed our parents.
Yeah.
And everything kind of went from there because, again, I was 13 years old. I've been in this business over 3 decades now, the entertainment industry, which is so weird to say because I want to feel like I'm 25. So,
Yeah.
but it's just one of those things where it sounds the same as everybody else when you say I always knew that I wanted to be an entertainer. Well, that's true. I knew that I wanted to entertain. I wasn't sure specifically what I wanted to do or whether I wanted to only do one thing. I just knew that I loved to entertain. And so here I am today entertaining in every way that I possibly can, every way that I love and want to do. When I decide I want to do something, I go, well, let me try my hand at that and see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got, yeah, I was first introduced to you, I think, back when you started out working with trauma as a traumat and, uh, mostly online. And then I started seeing you pop up in a couple of those films. But,
Yeah.
but even before that, like you were doing stage productions and, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was, later in your teens and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
I did a lot of extra work. And it was, keep in mind, it was in between having children. So I started having children at 18. I had a long break of time where I didn't do anything in terms of film. I went from Lean on Me to doing stage stuff
Okay.
for a while, theater performances, small theater performances for Robert Banks, who did a play called Cry of the People,
Mm-hmm.
that I was involved in, and just back and forth between so many different things like that, until I started doing more extra work, and then I found, Lloyd Kaufman and Debbie Rochon, who are two primary people responsible for, anybody else even giving me a chance and looking at me. Debbie Rochon to me is like the goddess of scream queens. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a scream queen. And
Oh,
I
cool.
entered a Fangoria contest where Dee Snider and Debbie Rochon for Fangoria Radio. And I lost the contest, but Lloyd was one of the judges, and Lloyd really liked me. So he was like, I'd like to put you in a couple of my intros and see how you do. And the rest is history, as they would say.
Oh, that's fantastic. Along that same path, how did wrestling come about?
Well, wrestling came about later in my life, but I need to say that I had been a fan of wrestling since I'm like 9 or 10 years old. I used to have to, the short period of time that I lived with my biological mother,
Mm.
she would have me to record the shows off the television on VHS.
Oh, okay.
And anybody that remembers VHS, you know,
Yep.
you have to pause the tape in order to cut the commercials out, so that
Right.
when you play it back, it's without the commercials. So
Right.
she had me, I was responsible for recording it, pausing uh, it, and then resuming when the show came back on. And that was kind of what pulled me in. My great grandmother used to watch wrestling when I believe it was black and white, or either our TV was black and white, one or the other. Um, and I watched, but I didn't watch.
Mm.
But anyway, my daughter, I mean, all of my family loves wrestling, but my oldest daughter always wanted to be a wrestler. So I started taking her to shows, because I didn't grow up going to wrestling shows. We couldn't afford any of that. So I didn't go to my first show until I was an adult. But I took her to some house shows, and then we went to WrestleMania in ATL in 2011, and I met one Tommy Dreamer,
Mhm.
and that is where my wrestling career started.
Oh.
Was after I met him and befriended him, and then we became good friends, and then we became best friends, and then he started his own company in 2012.
Cool.
Uh, I was pregnant at the time. He invited myself, and at the time my husband, and my daughter, to a show, and we came to the show and we really loved it. And by the second show, I was working it,
Wow.
and by the fourth and fifth show, I was helping him run everything behind the scenes. And with each show that progressed, I had
Mm.
more and more responsibilities, until I was doing everything
Oh,
with
geez.
him in House of Hardcore. And then
Ah.
it started bleeding over to Impact Wrestling after a while. And then I would travel and do indie shows all over the country, and even outside of the country. I did a London tour with them. And even though I didn't wrestle, I did like a lot of the photography and stuff there. So that's pretty much how I got my start. Was, if it were not for Tommy, I wouldn't have had an opportunity, nor would my daughter have had an
Yeah.
opportunity to be a part of professional wrestling, which has been, a dream come true.
That's fantastic. So your daughter is also a wrestler too. Is that
She
correct?
works. We're a valet team, a wrestling valet team
Oh,
called the
okay.
Double D Duprees, and she doesn't get to do it as much as I had before the pandemic, because she had a regular job as a manager at a movie theater.
Okay.
So she would have to just take her weekends or what have you. But like,
Mhm.
I traveled with him all the time. But then COVID hit, and
Yeah.
all of that stopped.
Mhm.
So uh, I think we're just getting back into the travel thing a little bit more.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I find it's pretty interesting too that this all started with you um, early editing VHS tapes.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because I love editing and all of that stuff today, but it's a different kind of editing because
Yeah.
everything is like digital and whatnot, and it's so weird that that's what I started doing, and that's also some of the stuff that I did for Tommy. There was nothing that I didn't do when I say, because he said, well, I trust you with my business.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have me do everything. So I would literally do a show. Uh, we would be at the front doing the tickets
Mm-hmm.
uh, at will call, and then I would start making sure all the talent was fine. I would take behind the scenes photos, do Snapchat for behind the scenes photos, post
Yeah.
social media for like the other things, and do video clips to show the line, and do all of that stuff. And then I'm taking overhead pictures to see the whole audience. Then I have to go out and do my spot for whatever we're doing that night, then run back, change my clothes again, and resume everything that I was doing. That would be a normal night for me.
Jeez, that sounds like a whole convention weekend wrapped up into your 24 hours. That
And yes,
wow.
always. And with him, I would always show up hours early, hours before the show, and stay late. I've had to help. There was a time where we had to actually uh help break down the ring, put it in the ring truck, and drive the ring truck, to a
Ooh,
location, and
right.
then unload, that as well. I basically, did everything. I was his right hand person. Whatever he needed, that's what I did.
Oh
And it
gosh.
taught me so much because it helped me expand upon my production skills by doing these things, and by him entrusting me in everything that I did. Trust me, every show, like, people would see me running all around,
Mhm.
just make sure everything's okay, and whatever it was that he needed. And when he was unavailable, you know, I would, take the reins. And one time he couldn't be at a show, Keystone Comic Con. We
Okay.
did 3 days there, and the first day he couldn't show up, so
Mm.
I had to run the shows by myself. So I just kept calling him on the phone to give him a blow by blow for everything that was going on, or if there was a problem, how do you want me to deal with this? And,
Mhm.
it was crazy because I had never run a show by myself
Oh,
before, but it went well. So
wow, that is amazing. You are truly superhuman. Holy cow.
I wish. I
Ah.
just I adapt. The thing is, and this is gonna sound really weird,
Mhm.
if I thought that people wouldn't laugh, I would put on my resume that being a mom of 10 children, uh like on a resume as experience, because being a mother of so many made it easier for me to adapt to high stress situations.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So when there's a lot of stuff going on, my mind works better because it's just so much, and I'm used to thinking on my feet. It's when things are going really, really slow where my mind works really, really slow. So
Yeah.
I'm really used to high stress situations because of my family.
Wow. Yeah, that is, yeah, a pretty remarkable skill set, and not one that can be easily, taught, or, it sounds like conveyed.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like at home training all the time that just never ends, you know?
Jeez. I you know to with that in mind, and I know, like, film sets are not, a low stress environment either, but it
Yeah.
sounds like that might be the lower of the three professions in terms of stress. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Because, well, once I'm on set, it's a little different. It's the
Mhm.
preparing for the roles
Yeah.
that's more of the harder part, I guess.
Hmm.
Just trying to make sure you get the character, you mesh with who you are representing at the time. uh that's the part for me that's high stress. When I get on set, it's still stressful. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's a different level of it. Wrestling is the kind of high stress that I actually uh, enjoy, if that
Mm,
makes any sense.
sure.
Um, and then I become accustomed to it. But because of the pandemic, House of
Mm,
Hardcore hasn't run a show in a little over a year, and so we're closed indefinitely. I don't know if we're going to resume shows or not.
okay.
Right now, I just work with Tommy on the House of Hardcore podcast that he has,
Okay.
and
Mm,
other little things with managing if he you know wants to do a movie or something like
yeah.
that. I do that as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. With on obviously with the House of Hardcore. Uh, I mean, you're producing and stuff, but you're also working with Tommy, producing his films, while working on your own projects too. Correct?
right, yes, like Shadowhunters Devil Speak was
Yeah.
actually my film project. I directed it. I didn't write it. John Johnson wrote it. I directed it, and it was a no budget film.
Hmm.
So I was like, hey Tommy, so how would you like to be in my film? I can pay you zero money, but I will feed you. um, and he was like, of course, whatever.
Yeah.
I got you, and did the film. So I was very grateful for that.
That's cool. It's great that you guys are able to support each other in that capacity. Uh,
Always.
yeah, and it's like you put your heart and soul in each other's projects, and it's nice
Absolutely.
to have that passion kind of reciprocated.
Absolutely. He used to call me the heart and soul of House of Hardcore when we would run Twitch shows every Wednesday. And the Twitch shows started out as um, just revisited clips from the previous House of Hardcore shows. And then we would run, pay-per-views. But after a while, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do something more personal. So then
Mhm.
every Wednesday it would be, he would just get on and he would talk about different subjects or what have you. This was before he had the podcast, actually.
Okay.
Um, uh, Kind of interwoven into the podcast. So I would moderate for him on Twitch. So I would be his House of Hardcore moderator and remind him of all of the stuff happening and when we had shows happening and stuff like that. So that was fun. And then he stopped doing that to focus more on the podcast itself. And then I think he had like busted open radio to do and all of that stuff.
Wow.
So that stopped.
Oh man. The you know on your social media too. You share with us like I think yoga and some of the acrobatics that you do.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so you're constantly training, and it seems like
Yes.
you're always working towards solid meditative states as well.
I try my best to. So I lost 82 pounds
Wow.
uh over time
Okay.
because with having 10 children, my weight yo-yoed,
Hmm.
and I put together my own plan. I didn't have the money to. People don't understand. They'll say, they see I'm
Yeah.
verified and they'll say, well, you make money. Well, even if I made like really good money, do
Hmm.
you understand how much it costs to feed 10 children and
Right.
clothe 10 children and take
Right.
care of 10 children? It takes a lot. So I invest all of my money into my family,
Hmm.
point blank, period. That's just who I am. So when I wanted to lose the weight, I couldn't really get a gym membership. I mean, I could have if I wanted to just focus on me. But
Right.
when I say I can't, I mean, that money was better spent investing in my children.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
girls went to gymnastics and all of that kind of stuff. So I would rather invest the money in that. So I wrote a plan of my own. Uh, I wrote my own food plan based on my body
Mm-hmm.
and I just started working out at home and eating right. And then, maybe 3 or 4 months later, I had gotten a basic gym membership and started working out. And then the next thing you know, I was just like dropping the weight left and right. And I eventually lost 82 pounds. So then I wanted to expand upon it. And Tessa Blanchard introduced me to this yoga chair, the yoga chair that I use that you see on social
Yeah.
media. And I was like, what is that thing? And she was like, it's a yoga chair. She sent me the link, and that was all she wrote because, I have one and another one on the way. And I like to test the boundaries of like my core,
Mm-hmm.
by, first of all, I just get on it every day just to be able to, be upside down and kind of balance myself. But then I try to see what else I can do in this chair. And
Yeah.
then I also do my own photography. So all the pictures that you see of me in the yoga chair, I took those photos myself. So I have a little clicker in my hand. And when I'm
Okay.
upside down, I take the pictures.
Oh man. Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. I sit there and I look at that. It's like, all right, I really have no excuse. You know, it's like, come on, Dan, you can at least do some crunches. Uh,
Everybody in their own time, and you have to go at your own pace. I always say, ever since I had tagged The Rock that one time, and I said hashtag you versus you, like like The Rock said, and he commented back and said, "At a girl," I said, I'm never giving up fitness." The Rock tweeted me back, "That's it. This is all I needed in my life."
That's
That was
cool.
it. I had gotten like 300 or 400 followers, like just from his tweet.
Oh, great.
When he
Good.
said "at a girl," I was like, that was The Rock endorsement. I will never ever gain weight again. I'm just gonna do this for the rest of my life. That
That's,
was my biggest like endorsement. And
yeah.
I'm a fangirl too, but
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
him to tweet me back and acknowledge my little existence on the blip of Twitter
Mhm.
was amazing for me.
That's great. Those acknowledgments, are pretty motivational, aren't they?
Yeah, they really truly are. It really helped me to continue to keep going. Sometimes it's just the little things, and it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it inspires you to keep going, right? That's all it
Mhm.
really matters.
Right, right. Most definitely. Now, with your family, you know, they've got to be just absolutely, fanatics when it comes to their mom. It's, I mean, you do everything for them, and you do such cool things, as the day job. Do they uh, support you any way they can?
They support me in every way. As a matter of fact, if it were not for them, I probably wouldn't have gotten back into acting or any of that stuff, because I felt guilty about not being home.
Oh,
And they were like, "Mom, we want you to go out there and do that stuff." I mean, House of Hardcore shows was like a family, and Tommy had always said, any of your family can come. You don't ever say, "Well, my family can't come because of tickets and stuff like that." So my kids would come often to watch, their mom and their sister, out there doing their thing, and they would be so happy. And I have so much footage of that, and pictures of the kids with like Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy has called my son 3 years in a row to wish him a happy birthday, because he's a
oh,
huge Matt Hardy fan. Um,
that's so sweet.
and but yeah, they support everything. We had a Monique Dupree movie watching night one night where we just got some popcorn and stuff and watched some of my stuff on YouTube. And
Uh,
I had to be careful because I don't mind the campy killing stuff, because some of my kids grew up with me on set. And
mhm.
I was just telling this story about how one of my daughters, she's like 24 now, when she was younger, there's a picture of her laying next to like a pool of blood, stage
Ooh.
blood, because she was sleepy, but
Yeah.
it didn't bother them at all. And she was killed off in one of the movies, and my son uh was choked by a Nintendo cord in one of the movies and
Oh,
killed
geez.
as well.
Ha.
So My children have gotten the chance to take part in all of the craziness, and especially with the social media boom.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my children have been able to kind of be infused in a lot of my work. My other daughter, Karma, got a chance to valet one day for Leo Rush
Okay.
uh, at a House of Hardcore show. It was just,
Wow.
last minute thing. And I have pictures of her and the video of her getting to come out, and it's just because she was there that she got her opportunity to do something like that. So like I have endless Duprees and Dupree Thomases that can like also do this stuff as well, but they support everything that I do, and they know about everything that I do, even from like, I do my nudity as art series,
Mm-hmm.
and I homeschool my children, and we teach them about art and art history. You can go in almost any museum and see statues
Yeah.
of nude figures. So that's been infused throughout our history.
Right.
Um, and I believe it to be art. I
Yeah.
do believe that there's a difference between, pornography and just using the body as art, the human form.
Sure.
And so they know about all of that stuff because I don't pull any punches with my children. I talk to them straight up.
Yeah. Wow. That. Yeah. I find it really refreshing that you're able to have that kind of dialogue, with your kids too.
It's
Uh,
important to have open dialogue, and it's also
yeah.
important to actually hear their thoughts on things. So you don't just tell your children, well, this is this and this is how it is. You want to know, well, how do you feel about this? Or, there's you open up the line of dialogue for them to be able to talk to you about anything. And
Mhm.
I am so glad, that I'm that way. They have both a mother and a father that's just open to listening to them, that's open to having conversation with them. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, oh, a certain subject is taboo.
Right.
I don't want to talk to my children about sex, but guess what? They grow up, and I would rather them come and talk to me if they're feeling some kind of way than for them to go get advice from somebody that's going to instruct them to do something stupid first.
Right.
But if
Right.
you close that, then you don't give them a chance to feel comfortable enough to come up to you and talk to you,
Right. Right.
you know?
Oh, most.
So it's very important. It's a very important thing to do. And I love that my kids sometimes are to the point where I'm like, I'm saying, I don't want to hear this. Like I'm dying inside listening to what they're saying to me, but I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to breathe, but they feel open enough to talk to me. And that's important. And you want to keep that.
Yeah. If they're not, asking questions, and also as kids, like, you're usually born with this sense of curiosity, and
Absolutely.
as we grow up, a lot of things, society, peer structures, uh,
Right.
you know, kind of burn that out of us, and sometimes personal apathy too, and
Yeah.
if we lose that, I mean, so much of the magic in the world, is lost or diminished.
And listen, I didn't even get that growing up. And don't get me wrong, my grandmother was like the most awesome person in the world to me.
Yeah.
She did her best to raise me, and she was amazing. And I will always love her for it. But remember, she was a grandmother.
Mm.
So, like, even when I started growing boobs, which this might be TMI and I don't care, but when I first started growing boobs, because I started growing one side first,
Mm.
even though she raised so many other kids, she was
Mm.
like, "Oh my God, what's happening to you?" And took me to the hospital.
Mm.
And they were like, "Ma'am, she's growing breasts. It's just one side started growing before the other side." And I had to go to the hospital to find out what growing boobs were.
Wow. Okay.
You know, I ran track and field at the time, and I didn't want to grow breasts because I just felt like there were things that was going to get in the way. So I
Right.
think God like really is laughing now, like, well, you know, you don't want any. Well, here you go. So now I have all the breasts when I wanted none.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be a flat chested
Hmm.
woman who could run fast. That
Okay.
was that was my thing. I never said, "Oh, please bestow upon me the big boobs of your," you know, I
Right.
never asked for them. That's why I get, you know, pretty heated sometimes when they, you know, when people be like, "Are they real?" Like, here's my new comeback to, because you know, guys normally ask. So, you know, I had two guys ask me recently, "Are your boobs real?" And I go, "Is your penis real?" And I just wait for the response.
Yeah. 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 Men, we are such chauvinistic, sexist jerks.
I
Yeah.
mean, I do understand too. There's a day and age of there's so much plastic surgery going on.
Right. Right.
But even still, like I know plenty of women who I know have had surgery,
Hmm.
you know, I suspect on this, that, or the other. But me, even as a woman, I wouldn't say to them, "Oh, did you get your boobs done, or did you get your
Oh,
butt done, or did you get?"
right.
Because guess what? It's their business. And if
It's
they
personal.
wanted me to know, they
Yeah.
would just tell me.
Yeah. Well, it's personal, you know, and yeah, it's like why even approach such a personal subject? It's just one, it's arrogance, and two, it's just inhumane.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I just I like I try to find. I don't even get offended anymore. I just try to find little cute ways of responding
Mhm.
because you know I went through you know so much of my life going, no, what is wrong with you? Or like they would ask that me and my daughter go get a mother and daughter special when my daughter is trying to, you know, because she's has so much, you know, she has back problems
Mhm.
and
Right.
she just wants a reduction so bad, but you know it won't get covered. It's not covered, so
Mhm.
she can't really afford to do it. And I'm like, here people are asking, well, or saying that we have fake boobs and we're trying to figure out a way to get a reduction, you know.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things that happens. But in the interim, you know, I realize that people will see me first here,
Mhm.
but they won't see here or understand. So I lure them in one way only to talk to them intelligently
Right.
afterwards
Right.
to make them understand that I'm not just a set of breasts.
Right. No, you know, as we've been discussing, you know, here, and as I've been learning, it's like you're a tour de force, is what you are, and you know, with House of Hardcore, I mean, it is also the House of Dupree, you know, and and and
Thank you
the,
for that.
and the extended family that goes into it. So
Yes.
I love hearing the fact that it's you know there's so much family involvement, there's so much, you know, creative, you know, charisma, and you know, everybody seems to be supporting each other, because that's
Yeah.
something in the wrestling world you don't always hear that much. You know, there's
Yeah.
camaraderie amongst wrestlers, but the business end,
But
you
not
know,
family. I
yeah.
could not do what I do at all without my family. My family, you know, I don't support them, they support me. And I say that to just say that, you know, I might be the one going out there to earn like the money, but I
Mhm.
couldn't do that without their support, without their backbone. I
Right.
can't do any of this like I do, you
Right.
know. So I'm forever grateful, and this is always teamwork. It's
Mhm.
never just a I. It is we, as an entire family. And so you know, I have a force here with this family. and I'm very, very grateful and blessed.
That's fantastic. Steve just chimed in. Uh, Not all guys look for the outside
I
package.
see.
Some of us like intelligent women. So
And you are rare, Steve, and I appreciate you for being one of those rarities. I do know that you guys are out there. It's just that
right,
the other ones kind of take over with all of the
yeah,
those comments. But I do know that that is not every guy. That would be
yeah,
extremely wrong of me to say, and a lie, because I've seen guys like yourself. So I really truly appreciate it.
yeah. No, we're here to support you however we can, and to keep you doing and creating more art, more film, and yeah. Incidentally, too, we didn't chat too much about it, but you also have a music background.
I do have a music background. So my husband had started a band called Negro Child, which
Hmm.
he was he wrote everything. And he also did the rap portion of things. And then I sang, and we had a live band. Um, Unfortunately, you remember MTV's Behind, or was it VH1 Behind the Music?
VH1 Behind the Music, yeah.
Right. Okay. So our band would have been on there for all of the crazy stuff. I mean, we've had tragedies because,
Oh,
we had band members that passed away,
right. Oh,
band members hooked on drugs, the drama, all of that kind of stuff. And eventually we split,
mm,
and we still have an album worth of stuff that needs to be like polished and everything, because we had only released a couple of singles, but we actually toured where we did the songs from the album. And
nice.
we did a show in Baltimore one Halloween, and we shut it down, like to the point where there was so many people that the fire marshal came in and shut us down.
Oh,
But
wow.
that made us feel really, really good.
That
There was
yeah.
a mosh pit and everything. It was awesome, because our music, we didn't cover one genre. 1 minute it would be metal, there was a little jazz, there was some hip hop, some R&B,
So very
little
multifaceted.
teeny bit of pop, because of me. But that was how he wrote it, that was how he planned it. Saint is kind of a mastermind of writing and all things like that. His name is Anthony St. Thomas. And
Oh,
so, you know, he's the one that had started the band. And if I had my way, what I would like to do in a perfect world is to finish those songs, even if it was just the two of us finishing them, would be to finish those songs and release the album, just so that I could say the entire album was released. So I hope at some point in time to do that, because I miss music, I miss
yeah.
singing. Um, but right now, it's I have to focus on the things that's going to make the money now, and my little creative, outside of the box things that I've been doing now, like my little Instagram show that I do, Q&A with Monique Dupree, that I do every Tuesday, because Instagram offered me the opportunity to have badges, which I don't know if
Mm.
anybody, or if you know anything about badges on Instagram. Do you?
Not really. Other than they help verify official public persons. I think.
No, not those badges, not the
Oh,
not
okay.
the not the blue check.
Right.
So when you go live on Instagram, there's some
Mhm.
people, some personalities, uh, that when you go live, people can purchase a badge.
Okay.
It could be 99 cents, $1.99,
Oh, okay.
all the way up to $4.99, and you'll have a heart next to your name. You can only do it during a live stream, and it
Mhm.
just helps support that creator and that brand. So when Instagram offered me these badges, anytime I go live, I can offer the badge, for people to buy badges, or I can just turn it off. But I do it
Yeah.
every Tuesday, and I do the Q&A, um, because the people that support helps me to get my cosplay stuff back together. and also like my outfitting for the next Q&A, because one of the things, some people come on to see like what I'm going to be wearing next or what my hair looks like next, and I reinvest that money back into my Q&A to try
Okay.
to grow it right now. So I've been trying to explain to people, when I go live, if you come on and you support, that'll be a great way of supporting. But now I've created this thing that I haven't started yet. It starts
Okay.
next Tuesday, would be the boob kiss. So every time somebody bought a badge, I will give myself a boob kiss. I will kiss my own boob for them, because nobody else is going to do it, because nobody
Yeah.
else is allowed but
Yeah.
me. So I will literally, without touching, I will just lift and kiss.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I've been I've been having to practice.
Yeah. I'd imagine you've gotten pretty good at that then.
Yeah, I'm gonna show it off on Tuesday, but
Nice.
I
Cool.
just thought that would be a cool way to mix because people are always talking about my boobs, and it's just a unique way to get people to go, okay, I'll buy a badge for 99 cents to see that,
Yeah.
you know. um because I'm virtual, so I can't really give you anything, directly.
Yeah.
So it's just my little thing. Everybody has like little things that they do, and I just thought that would be a little unique way. And I'm trying to kick my cosplay back up, so any monies that I get from that will just go directly into my cosplay to offer it out there for everybody, because I have so many suggestions from my fan base about cosplay, but I'm like, okay,
Right.
I'm not taking any of the money from my kids and the things that they need to do to invest in these cosplays get expensive. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so I
There's
use that to reinvest.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into cosplay, and this is a great way to support you in some of your creative passions. But
Absolutely.
here's one of my favorite photos of you as Wonder
Yes.
Woman.
Yes.
Wow, that is fantastic,
And
and
that was actually a dance contest. So I was in the
oh,
middle of dancing. That was I
that's
won that contest, by the way.
well, you better have you had the sword.
I sure did. I sure did. But I did that move and I slid on the floor with the sword, and
I
somebody captured that amazing shot, and that's been circulating around. So I do different Wonder Womans. I still haven't done well Wonder Woman / Nubia.
oh
So the
right
next cosplay I want to do uh is to focus more on the Nubia aspect, and I want to kind of have the afro and things of that nature. So the only thing I really have to do for that is get the hair, because I already have the costume and I just want to make a few alterations to it. But that Wonder Woman costume, I built on different pieces of that. So that costume was $250 to perfect. Um, which is why I said, these costumes cost a lot.
yeah
Um, but once I have them, they're there, so I can go back to them again. So that's the cool thing. So I'm still working on my first cosplay that I want to do. So I have to wait until I get enough, money from the Instagram lives to invest in that. And I didn't do one this past week, but it's every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for anybody that's interested or want to pop in, and you can ask any question, but you may not like the answer that I give you. But I do open it up to ask whatever you'd like.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. So for everybody that's watching, yeah, on Instagram, yeah, we've got it scrolling at the bottom on Twitter and Instagram at the original Gata. So
Yes.
make sure to follow Monique there. It Monique too. The one of the things that I haven't asked was you know growing up, what was some of your early, for film? What was some of your early inspirations?
You mean like early inspiration films?
Yeah, yeah, and for being an actress or any of your inspirations.
Well, it was less the films and more the people. I actually I actually looked at everybody. First of all, I have to say that a lot of people don't know that I thought I was going to be a comedian first
Oh, no kidding.
because I love comedy.
Yeah.
So I was obsessed with Lucille Ball.
Oh, cool.
Um, I watched The Honeymooners. I watched I Love Lucy. As corny as it sounds, and this isn't comedy, but I watched a lot of, I'm an original Trekkie. I don't like any
Yeah.
other Star Trek but the
Oh, no kidding.
original Star Trek with Captain James T. Kirk. So
Hmm.
I used to watch that religiously as well. But I thought that I was going to be a comedian. So I was heavily influenced by comedians throughout my life, Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett and, people like that, even learning, George Burns and, just I was heavily influenced by comedians. I also loved Pam Grier
Oh, yeah.
with my spirit animal. And and
It's amazing.
I kind of wanted to be like her.
Yeah.
Um I never saw myself doing like I never grew up going, I'm gonna like do these huge movies or whatever. I
Mhm.
just grew up saying I want to be in movies.
Right.
I don't I'm one of those people that, well, I'm not looking for fame. I'm
Mhm.
looking for the satisfaction of being able to do
Oh,
what I love
yeah.
and just have enough to support my family at the same time. That's all I want. It's just as clear cut as it goes. And before the pandemic, I was doing just that. And then the pandemic hit, and then I had to find creative ways to continue to bring an income in
Yeah.
because a lot of the things that I was doing was contingent upon traveling out,
Right.
conventions and,
Right.
all of those things, and all of that stuff came to a screeching halt. That's when I came up with the idea later on about like the Instagram lives, and
Right.
then I started selling my autograph photos again because I was selling them in person, and
Mm.
my shirts, and like I have shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. I have my Candy Woman shirt modeled after my brother who played
Right.
Candyman.
Yep. Tony
So
Todd.
I have so I have a Candy Woman shirt that's available on Pro Wrestling Tees. So I started just thinking of all of these little creative ways to bring in, extra income to keep everything going. And luckily I did.
Mhm.
It's just you have to think outside the box
Right.
when things, go awry like that. And we're starting to open up again. Things have been so much better. I'm slated for 6 films. And I'm excited to be able to be on set. I was on set once for a Tom DeNucci film, and I actually got to do my own fight scene. So that was amazing.
Cool.
I was really proud of that, and Tommy Dreamer got me that gig too. So
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, it seems like you guys have such an amazing partnership.
we
Uh,
do.
I do have to ask too, like when you're looking at a role, like creatively, what are you looking for? What's the role that you aspire to do?
Well, when I have the luxury of just, I mean, I do pick and choose roles because there's been roles that I've turned down,
Mhm.
but I look for something that may be a little different or something that may be a little challenging for me, maybe even something that I'm scared to do.
Okay.
Uh, for me to actually do it. Now during the pandemic, it was a little bit different because uh well, I have to backtrack. So
No problem.
during the middle of the pandemic, filmmakers started getting creative as well, and they would pay people to film their own scenes and send them in.
Mm.
So me being a perfectionist like I am, uh, film scenes like how directors normally film scenes. I do the scenes and the takes,
Mhm.
and I do many takes, and I do it from many different angles.
Yeah.
So those roles I took on, and some of them, it's not that they were challenging the character, it was challenging for me to film it.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, it was like, it was a challenge for me to try to pull off playing this character and filming it as well. Um, Again, I was fortunate enough to have help too with some of those things. We're having some of my scenes filmed, uh, other people filming it, and I just frame it and whatnot. But I still I still want to be able to play a serial killer
Okay.
at some point, but I want to play a serial killer with like layers. Like, I don't want it to just be
Mhm.
like a slasher serial killer film. I still haven't found that script yet, and
Yeah.
I'm still looking for that. But I usually like a challenge. That's why when Lloyd came to me about Shakespeare Shitstorm and playing Caliban, which was a man, Caliban was a black man in Tempest. Uh, but he thought that I had the strength to pull off the role, being a strong black female, lead. But
Right.
then when I learned that I had to like learn Shakespeare, I'm like, that's my brother's forte. Like, my brother's the theater guy, and you know, all Shakespearean and such. That's not me, but I had to learn in order to do that role.
Mhm.
So that was probably the most challenging role that I've had to date, as
That's
silly
awesome.
as the film is. But
Right.
at the same time, there's so many layers to any of Lloyd's films. If you really watch it, you see the
Yeah.
silliness and stuff, but he's actually saying something
Yeah.
in his films. You know, it's like he teaches you by disarming you with the laughter and the silly, and then he throws all that knowledge on you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been my most challenging role to date.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Lloyd's a lot of fun. He gives you that subtext. It's right. It's
Yes.
just right there under the surface.
Always, always, always. There's never a time where he doesn't. And that's what I love about him. And that is why he's been making films since, for as long as I've been born, 1974.
Yeah. Yeah. And he keeps going too. So
Yes.
that's great.
Yes.
Um, yeah. And then on top of that too, we didn't really talk about it too much, but I mean, yeah, you also work with artists and creators to do comic books as well.
Yes. And that's actually taken from a real photo, from a photo shoot. And he
Oh,
took the
cool.
picture and he drew it and made it a comic. And I was like, wow, you drew me so well. Like, he says that he could draw my dimensions in his sleep now, because he's been drawing me for so many years. But
Nice.
his name is Dennis Willman, and he
Nice.
is an amazing artist. If anybody ever needed any artwork, you can look him up on Facebook. Just look up Dennis Willman, and you'll see him there. Facebook is probably the best way to connect with him. But he's an amazing artist. That's all I can really say. That's from a picture too. So that
Oh,
was from Gingerstein. I
right.
did a lot of reference pictures for that. Like, I took maybe 200 reference pictures for him to capture the realism. Pictures of me drinking coffee and angry and reading a book, and like all different kinds of things. Like I said, anything that I do, I take it seriously. So
Yeah.
if he
That's
said, I want you to model for this comic book, I'm not just going to send in a few pictures. When I
mm,
first sent in my reference photos, he said, God, I have to tell you, nobody's ever sent in so many pictures before. They normally just send a few and think that I'm supposed to just get a well-rounded perspective of how to draw them, but
right.
you captured everything. And that's
Right.
what I like to do. I like to give you too much.
Yeah. Well, that's thorough. As an artist myself, I mean, we need that because sometimes we
Right.
don't know how to. In dealing with things that exist in the real world, we don't know how to bridge those gaps, even if it's just the pivot of a couple degrees, in terms of doing angles and everything. Or
Right.
yeah, who knows what we're missing out on. So
Yeah.
I I love that you know you're doing all these, and I think you know, you mentioned before we went live that some of these books were going to be reissued in collected graphic novel forms.
Yes, yes, and it's going to be available on Amazon.
Oh, that's fantastic. And
Yes.
and of course, you know, one of the early photos that that grabbed my attention and brought me, you know, uh, uh, to following your career is, of course, this one of I mean, you're a walking, talking
Yes.
action figure in this with this massive saw. I don't even know what kind of saw that is. That
I
is
don't, well,
really
this
amazing.
the artist, I mean the photographer's name is Mike Manikowski, and
Mhm.
he was one of the early photographers that I shot with. So he created that saw. He created the backdrop
Oh,
that you saw. The
yeah,
backdrop that you see is actually made of cardboard. So he, you know, had the cardboard and he sprayed it and he put these skulls on it, and he created that in a hotel room. And I did a convention
wow.
once, and he was just like, hey, I would really love to shoot you.
Yeah.
And we did like two different outfits. One was like a police outfit with a corset waist cincher.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
I've seen that
that
one.
shoot, but those pictures are classic and they're iconic. And every time I re-release stuff on my store, people go, well, I would like this picture if you still sell this. And
Right.
somebody just asked me that last week. Can you please resell this picture since you're only selling your photos for $5 right now? Because I did like a you know, a quarantine sale, if you
Right.
will. And I just made all my photos $5 because I have so, you know, so many still. I was like, well, I'm not losing out, you know, and it gives a chance for me to, you know, connect with the fans in a different way, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna have to offer that picture again because I'm being constantly asked.
Well, you know, yeah, with revisiting that photo, think about making it into an action figure. I'm just saying.
Well,
I
I
think
would love to have an action figure, but it's been hard trying to get someone that would create one so that we can have a prototype to see what other people would think about it.
right, right. No, I
So it's a matter of connecting with someone that would be willing to make a prototype for me so that I can introduce it to my audience.
mhm,
Um, I for believe it or not, for some reason, you know, different social media is like I present myself in different ways, but I've
right.
noticed that my Twitter stays like the same number. It doesn't really move up or down. My
Hmm.
Instagram has been growing, but my Facebook fan page for some reason has exploded.
Oh,
Uh
wow.
I now have 230 some odd thousand followers on my Facebook page.
Nice.
And I hadn't checked it in a month or so. I just kept getting all of these requests for people that wanted me to advertise their stuff, like not those annoying advertisements, but I mean like
Yeah.
actual companies, like, you know, fitness companies and stuff. And they
Right.
would say my Facebook specifically, and I was like, why do they keep asking, you know, to send me stuff to advertise on my Facebook? And then I went and checked my Facebook today and was like, oh my gosh, when did this grow so much?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Well, I would love to see about yeah, exploring like an action figure. I've got a few friends that do design toys and do little mock-ups and prototypes from time to time. So yeah, I can always put them in touch with you and see if that's something of interest.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And I would appreciate it, if nothing else, the effort.
Sure, sure, most definitely. You know, Monique, we're just about out of time, and you know, it's been such a pleasure talking to you and you being so generous with your time and you know, you know, telling us a lot about your, you know, your backstory and all your passions. I mean, holy cow, it's fantastic. It's a lot to take in because you're an entrepreneur, you're a filmmaker, director. I mean, production designer. You wear so many hats, and then there's the wrestling stuff.
I really miss wrestling, and um I just told Tommy this because I was with him in Nashville just I just left Nashville, so I was with him in Nashville. I was like, man, I really miss wrestling. I went to one AEW show,
Yeah.
and I was in the audience next to Sonny Kiss, and I was on television, and then everybody automatically thought that I was going to be on AEW, and then everybody's been asking ever since then. If I
Ooh.
had the opportunity to even work behind the scenes at AEW, I would jump at that. I don't necessarily need to be in front of the camera because I found the love, thanks to Dreamer. I found the love of doing behind the scenes stuff that's been just as fulfilling, probably even more so than being in front of the camera.
Mm.
And I would love to be able to explore that opportunity again. And I told him how much, I miss it. And he was like, yeah, it's hard once you get bit by that bug. You
Right.
it's unlike anything else that I've ever done, working in professional wrestling. And I have a family, you know what I'm saying? Like a wrestling family.
Yeah.
Sandman just joined the ranks of Facebook,
Oh.
and he's already, like, we've just been chatting back and forth, and I was like, man, I miss you. I miss seeing your face, and I miss all the crazy shit. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know if I could curse, but I
It's
just did.
online. You
So
can fucking
okay.
curse.
I was like, I miss all the crazy shit you used to do, and like that I got to watch, and my kids love him. My boys hung out with him all the time, and just like, I miss all of that. The only person that I really get to see consistently is Dreamer. So
Yeah. Oh, that's yeah. We can't wait, for you to be able to return uh, to wrestling and to more, filmmaking and I mean, and you're so, well endeared with, with the fan base too, because I mean,
hey,
you really
Tommy, did
love
you
the
hear
fans.
him? He said, I need to get back in wrestling. Tommy, put me back in wrestling. Come on. Come on.
Let's go, Tommy. Just do it.
Oh man. Yeah, I had to rib him a little bit.
As one should. That is the neighborly thing to do.
That's what I do all the time anyway.
Oh, excellent. Oh man, Brad just chimed in. Sandman is hardcore.
Sandman is absolutely hardcore. There is nobody else in this universe like Sandman. And like I said, I love him to pieces. People don't realize how freaking intelligent
Mm-hmm.
Hack is. Like, he's pretty brilliant.
Yeah,
He's just a walking wealth of knowledge.
yeah.
He
Oh,
truly is.
that's so cool. And then Steve just chimed in. Well laid plans make the better bridge.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Monique, again, thank you so much for being able to come on and chat with me and share your life. Oh, it's very inspiring. I think you're an amazing person. You're clearly the best mom in the world. Holy cow! Yeah,
No, I no. Parenting comes without any manuals or any
right,
instructions. So
right.
I'm just like everybody else and make all the mistakes in the world. But you know what? I just like to have fun with my children too. So I think it's important to connect. I still do hopscotch with them. We
Oh,
still jump
cool.
on the trampoline together and do laser tag in the house, and all of those things that I wasn't allowed to do in the house when I was growing up is what we do in our house. So
That
yeah.
that's so much fun. Yeah, again, I appreciate you coming on. And if you could, stay on for a few minutes while we,
Okay.
start, winding a few things down here. Uh,
Okay.
but to everybody that tuned in and is watching this a little later, thanks so much. Remember, COFOH is a Colorado Festival of Horror. We're going to be doing our first event this September. the 10th through the 12th. Visit our website at cofohorror.com for tickets and information. And, to all our sponsors, to Alien Donut Films, thanks so much for sponsoring us and putting up with me. Thanks to Bill and Angela over there, and to Hellfire Entertainment. Appreciate you carrying us on your social media. And, of course, our friends at Mutiny Cafe. If you're going to start a revolution, make sure it's caffeinated.
And why won't I be there again?
What's that?
And why won't I be there again?
Oh, we would love to talk to you about year 2.
Okay.
So let's make that happen.
Absolutely.
I think that would be absolutely spectacular, and hopefully we'll have an action figure to unveil.
That would be great as well.
That would be pretty spectacular. I love it. All right, so let's.
Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for having me on. I truly appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much. And remember, everybody, help each other out during these times. Look out for each other, and always remember, we love you. Take care. Have a good night.